A lot of us play Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, especially a lot of the people that are subscribed to my channel actually play the game and are just in love with the game. It's a game that has been really expanding and really quickly at that. But one thing that I can talk about here today, and one thing I will be talking about with my guest, is we're going to be talking about the expansion of the game, especially just with the Japanese version, because the global version will not really have this issue because, well, they may have it later on, but at least as for right now, they're several months behind, so they're not really a factor in this discussion today. So we're going to talk about the expansion of the game and the rate of its expansion and whether or not that's a bad thing. So joining me today is Real to Real, aka Mark. So before he says anything, I want you guys to pause this video, go in the description, and subscribe to my man Mark, especially if you're interested in Dragon Ball discussions and theories and all that stuff. A lot of other stuff too, not just Dragon Ball. It is a lot of Bleach and a lot of other anime related stuff. So anyways, Mark, I've gone ahead and plugged you. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm always good. Thank you for having me, D Free. It's always a pleasure.
All right, definitely. Basically, all this kind of just really started around the course of like the last month and a half, almost 2 months at this point, where Japanese Dokkan has had so much content repeatedly coming out to where whether or not you're a free player or a paying player, you're kind of in the situation where you have to continually find a way to come up with stones. So talking about it here, once again, just rewinding a little bit, around 2 months ago-ish, I don't have the exact dates up, what happened was they came out with the Super Vegito banner around the time of actually at the exact same time as the 1 year anniversary with Gogeta on Global. They came out with Super Vegito, and he's a top 5 card in the game, a top 5 unit. Same thing goes for the new physical Broly, top 5 in the game as well. So you come out with two amazing guys at the same time as Global's 1 year anniversary, because the Japanese version always one-ups the global version. No matter what they do, they have to have something come out to one-up them. They do it continuously, I swear to you. So they do that, and they also come out with a discounted summon. So I believe it was 3 summons at 30 stones, like the exact same thing that the Global was doing with the 1 year, and you got the free one. So they did that, okay? So they also give you a discount on stones. So it's awesome, right? You're going to pull these amazing new units, and you're going to build an amazing team off those amazing units. And so once that passes, what happens is we move into a couple of tiny little filler banners. I believe there was a GT one in there, which is nice to get some of the GT cards if you didn't have them. There's some really good ones. But from there we move into what happens to be the Dragon Ball Super event and the Dragon Ball 30th anime anniversary event, and you get into the Dragon Ball Super Summon, and then that transitions into Gotenks coming out. But wait, at the same time as Gotenks is still running, concurrently they run Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, and it's like all of these top units are coming out. All these guys are top 5 in the game. The only other ones that are not mentioned amongst the new cards that came out in the last month and a half are Gogeta, who's old, and the free LR Goku. He's a free card. So every other top unit in the game came out within a month and a half's time. So what that says to me is that there's two things. There's a massive creep with this game, which there has always been. There's always been power creep. There will always be newer, better, stronger units because that's the way that they generate revenue. They can't bring out weaker stuff and expect you to buy it, basically, because the game is predicated on paying players. You can pay it free, or you can play it free like it says on the Hercule screen when you start it up. It's a free game, yada, 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 but it's predicated and ran by the paying players because obviously they're the ones that fund the project. So it's a business model. How can they kind of find a way to make people continually purchase new stuff? And one of the things that's kind of happening is they have gotten away from their older model where they'll gradually bring out stuff over the course of like once a month or stuff like that, to where they're just kind of shitting shit out. And actually, talking about it here, we don't know when this is coming out. The Omega Shenron and the Buuhan, the Gohan Absorb Super Buu, the other two to kind of round out the 5 new God units with the new style of leader skills with the Super Vegito, Broly, and Gotenks. The other 2 ones for intelligence and strength, they were announced recently. We don't know when they're coming. They could come out next week, and it wasn't even that long ago that Gotenks was here. So, Mark, do you think, with everything I've explained, because I know you're not too into the Japanese version of Dokkan, do you think that with everything I've kind of explained here today and now, this stuff is kind of progressing too fast, and if that's healthy or not for the game?
Honestly, like I said, I'm not really into the Japanese version of the game. I hardly ever play the global version of the game, but I feel like it's going too fast. And what I mean by that is, and the only thing I can really make to give like kind of a, parallel argument to it, or kind of something is movies, movie blockbuster filmmaking. One of the things that came around, this big argument that came around after 2009, after Avatar just completely destroyed the box office, was this idea that 3D filmmaking and IMAX filmmaking and all this stuff was going to kind of flood the market. And we would see more and more people put, or more and more studios put blockbuster filmmaking, budgeted movies of up to like $200 million on basically weird weekends, like in March or April. And movies in January and February, usually dumping grounds of months, are completely out of those are the ones you don't necessarily go, oh, I'm going to go see something like Taken, even though Taken was a huge hit. You don't expect a huge hit to be in those months. But people thought, well, with all this new technology and all this stuff, we're starting to prove that people will go see huge films throughout the year, almost every single weekend. But the problem with that has been, and one of the big problems with that's been, especially this year, is that's starting to catch up with them. This whole concept of all these big movies coming out almost every single weekend or being planned years in advance, people just don't have that much money to spend. So when you come into this year and you have movies like Zootopia and Jungle Book and all these other movies coming out before the summer months hit, it's not that the summer movies do bad, but in comparison, they don't do as well because people have already spent their money, going to watch these event films that they wanted to see early on in the year that caught their interest. And then once, the other movies come out, it's like, well, I don't see very many movies. I don't do all this stuff. I think Dokkan probably has the same thing coming. It's like these freemium games, if we talked about before, and to plug that video that we did earlier a couple months back, is, the pool of players that actually spend a lot of money in order to play this game and to be like basically quote unquote pro players at this point, it's still a small margin of the millions and millions of people who actually have downloaded the game. And yet you start gouging those people, the people willing to pay over and over and over again, because you get greedy, or you have this idea that they're going to continue to pay no matter what you put in front of them. So you do this huge event after this huge event after this huge event. It's kind of one of these things to me that, they're going to start gouging out their own most loyal customers, because it's like, I can't keep buying stones. I realize it's addicting and I have a problem. I really have to stop or at least slow down. And I feel like it is. If they continue on this path of releasing something amazing or epic, this new banner every single week or every other week, they're going to run into a point at some point where they see the popularity and everything start to go down just because of how little people will stop. Like, even their most loyal customers will stop paying. And you're going to see, they're going to start seeing it in the, not right now because it's working for them. But once the special events stop becoming less and less special, people are going to stop paying. They're going to stop seeing as much revenue come in.
Yeah, definitely. I think that you basically hit the nail on the head. It's like, how much can you basically abuse your paying base of people that are playing the game and, kind of just attack them repeatedly? Because what it is you're like, hey, buy more stones. Hey, buy more stones. Don't you see this? This is amazing. Buy more stones, buy more stones, buy more stones. It's like, bro, my wallet needs a break. I mean, real life stuff is a thing too. Like, this isn't all that's really going on. And for me specifically, it's like, I am willing to spend money. It's a hobby. Like, I don't particularly care. I don't pay shame anybody, nor will I ever condone pay shaming, because at the end of the day, it's a hobby and you're free to spend your free money on, money that you have, obviously. If you have a problem where you can't take care of yourself, that's a whole different thing. But if you're basically doing what you need to do, you're taking care of you and whoever else you need to take care of, and you have residual money, you're free to spend it on a hobby. Like, what's the problem with that? So that's what it is at the end of the day. But nonetheless, when you have something like this to where it's constantly after you, it becomes an issue. And another thing is, too, there's not really much of a way for them to really remedy that, to be honest. They've put themselves in this predicament to where they've released all of these creep-worthy cards to where it's like, we have to continually release amazing stuff or these people are not going to buy. That's the problem here, is that they have to do that. I think that they can kind of transition to doing more of those little troll banners that are just kind of like filler banners. but nobody touches those banners really. I mean, unless you're like a new player on the new account, then because I started a new account, and it's like, oh, I didn't mind summoning on those because, I needed basically everything that's in there. So like, unless you're one of those people in that scenario, you don't touch those banners specifically. You've got to the point where you've become a conservative with this game, especially with the treatment that it's given you, to where even if you're a free player, you're like, nah, I'm saving my stones for this because I know this is coming, especially if you're on the global version, because you can kind of hop into this time machine, so to say, and look at the Japanese version and see what's coming up. So like, you kind of start saving stones and you start trying to budget yourself, unless you're just, once again, just kind of just spending outwardly and a little too much on the game. But, it just kind of is one thing that just kind of trickles down and continues basically. So I don't really know how they'll remedy it, but I think that we can both agree that stuff is coming out too fast. We need a break. If it keeps going at this pace, they're going to basically, turn their fans away from them. Their paying base of people that are playing the game away from them, right?
Oh, I completely agree. I feel like I honestly, at this point, if they keep going, especially at this pace, I'm not necessarily sure how quickly or if at all they can remedy it. Yeah. I don't think that they could fix it because you've created a momentum. And like you said, whether or not that momentum is good, you kind of have to keep the pace. And if you don't, you're going to start pissing off not only your loyal fans, or you're going to stop this whole, like, there's going to be this knee-jerk reaction to, well, you were coming out with all this awesome stuff. Why is it not there anymore? There was no reason that they needed to put all this new stuff out so quickly. I mean, they could have really just kind of budgeted themselves. And it's like, okay, well, like, this is going to be this month, this is going to be this month, and like, this is like 6 months away. And
that's what they used to do. But I think a lot of people have kind of come to the conclusion that maybe this isn't anything that's confirmed or anything like that, but maybe this is endgame. We don't know. We don't know how things are going out. It's what it seems like. It's kind of handled like they're handling it. They're trying to cash in, because what you just said is how they handled it. They used to say, okay, 1 festival a month, but now they're pushing out 3 in a month. Like, what the flying, like, what are they doing? They just don't care anymore. I don't know what their plans are, but it's really scary when you think about it as maybe this is an end game, especially if you're a paying player. So it kind of is another thing that makes you want to just kind of conserve. So I don't know.
I can't imagine it's end game, but to each his own. I don't know. I don't know if exactly that's what they're doing. I would highly doubt it, especially if, at this point, Dokkan is more successful than it's ever been, but you just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but it's just the way that they're treating the game as if they're trying to cash in and run. I don't know. But Mark, thank you for joining me once again, you guys. Please be sure to subscribe to Mark. Awesome guy, as you can tell. Awesome content, as I said earlier. So, was there anything else you wanted to say here? Any closing words here today, Mark?
No, I think I've gotten it all in. Thanks.
Great. Well, we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in the video. Peace out.
Bye.